Welcome back. And in fact, it is raining very heavily in Bangalore. However, keeping the rain aside, today is definitely one of the memorable day for the option sellers. Not necessarily for the good reasons, but it was definitely a tough day. Though I ended up in green, but there were multiple factors that really contributed today. The one was the Fed rate cut, which happened yesterday night. Morning when I did the analysis, I'm not sure if you got to see the video. So I did mention that out of 13 occasions, close to 9 occasions where the gap up for the gap down did not sustain. The remaining 4 occasions it got sustained. So today 10th occasion, so where it did not sustain. While there was a fake move at about 12:30 or 12:40, we will delve into the chart in a moment. But then I did see some other people, at least the sellers, they lost the money because there was sudden move. And then if people exited a bit early, they would have probably got into losses. But then eventually the Sensex came back to the same place where there was a sudden spike on the bottom side. We'll anyway get onto the chart in a moment. The second one is we'll also review FIDA data, and then let's look at outlook for the next week, what's in store. And also I wanted to spend some time on candlestick pattern. I think that's all the few items. Let's get on to the job. Let's have a quick look at what's happening on the FIDA data perspective. So before that, we will spend some time on what really happened today. So this is Sensex. So I have traded in 2 accounts today, so I'll probably share what I did on the Sensex. So I did not use all my full capital. I have used only half of the capital. But eventually, the peak it went about 1.74. But when I saw that there is a sudden fall at about I think 12:40, on that we'll in fact go to the details later. I have exited. After that, I did not enter. I think that's definitely a good decision to start with the day. But let's get on to what really happened today. I think it's a classic case of the deception, I would say. All right, so let's stay on here. So this is 5 minutes candle. So this is 15 minutes. So let's get on to 5 minutes. Apparently, yesterday's high was around 82,720. It pretty much touched this number and then went back. But then the way which this deception happened, it's very difficult for us to say that this is going to be really stopping there. So people would have thought anything had happened. But I have exited around this particular region. Whenever I saw that there is, at least you get to see, it's very difficult to tell why I exited. But somewhere in this region, I have exited because I felt there is too much of a volatility. Now, what I did was my main account I have exited here, but then one more account I did enter some trade somewhere here, and then eventually I have exited somewhere here. So I think that's all which I did today. The only learning is obviously if you use this indicator, not that I'm forcing you to use this, but then this clearly gave a signal at about 12:35 to sell it off or exit the trades if somebody is on the trade. And then eventually got a buy signal here. People would have made some money out here. But that's what it is. So this is on the 5 minutes candle. Now let's look at outlook for next week. So next week, if I go on to, so there is too much of noise here, right? So usually when there is a noise, it's always good to look at beta in the higher time frame. As I mentioned earlier, Nifty from September 1st, it's an up move. Either it's because of the GST news or tariff news is not factored here, but then any of those things definitely impacted here. So starting from here, it's almost like 13 or 14 days. Nifty is mostly in the up move. So now what could happen? So this is a hanging man. So usually when you have this kind of a signal, there is going to be some fall. Again, that fall will it come back to this particular zone? I'm very doubtful, but then maybe tomorrow at least I would expect that there's going to be some fall because so much of a usually will not sustain. However, let's see if that doesn't happen. Still, we got a resistance at about 25,658 zone. I don't think this was broken at least in the last 1 year. So we had definitely peak sometime in October last year. So this was the peak, which was September. 27th September. After that, we started seeing a good amount of the fall over the period of time, over last year. But tomorrow's and then this week, I would think this would still act like a massive resistance. So I'm not expecting Nifty to cross this number. In case if it crosses, again, we'll have to really look at the getting onto the peak, which is about 26,200 zone. I think it's 26,256 zone. I think let's see. Usually October months, not only last year, but then I think previous months also, there was definitely some kind of a reversal that happened. But let's watch out very carefully what's going to happen tomorrow. I do have positions around 25,600, 25,200 in one of my other accounts, which I can't, I'll not be able to show here because that can't be shown in the sensible at least. I think that's what the outlook I would say. So this week, I think one very important thing is, one second. So if you go to option chain, so the IV is negligible. So 6.8, I never saw ATM IV being 6.8. So at least in the recent days or the years, we will see 6.6 actually. That's the lowest that I could see here. But however, when we look at 30th September, the IV is a little better than this one. So now we might argue it is only 7.9 versus 6. But then if you look at the percentage wise, it's close to more than 20%. So I generally, if somebody has to take, it's better to take next month, the next week expiry rather than the current week expiry, because I'm talking from the seller's perspective. But if you go back to 7th October, that is also similar. We got almost 8 as the IV. So let's see how it. So my suggestion is, it's if you're a seller, it's good to take not the current week, but next week. While I have for the current week, but I will mostly exit tomorrow and then see depending on how the market actually opens up. Now let's have a look at FII and then DII data. Now let's look at FII data. So I think overall the bearishness on the index futures still continues, while the OI change has been positive. That's definitely some good news, but overall it is still bearish. So I would strongly believe these are all, as I mentioned in the morning, mainly for the hedging for the month-end positions, not necessarily there's going to be massive impact on the weekend. So what I'll do is I'll quickly go through here. So I have a bunch of options here. I'll probably get rid of Fin Nifty, and then I think Fin Nifty is not required. So index futures also I'll remove, but I will do Nifty futures and then the Nifty options. So when it comes to Bank Nifty, it looks like bullish as of now. So there is a net buy on the futures, while options also it's net buy. So both are green. I think the Bank Nifty fell down a little bit today. And when it comes to Nifty futures, again, this is bullish. And then options also are bullish. I think overall it's fine, but then now we have a difficult two important things, right? The first one is definitely the IV, which is the lowest. The second one is we have a hanging man structure on the daily chart. So tomorrow is going to be a really tricky day. So I would expect tomorrow is going to be either bearish to flat day. So I'm not expecting too much of a movement. So that's what it is. Usually IV of we can actually do a very quick thing on the live. So let me get on to Claude. I think this would be a good exercise. So Nifty expired at about T. Today is about 25 to 43, 25, 4 to 3, right? So let's ask this. Nifty expired at 24, 433. IV is ATM ID is 6.8. Nifty expiry is another 3 days from now. Giving possible Nifty range. So I would expect it will calculate and then give us some number. So which is going to be a little interesting. So it's doing some calculation. Yeah, I think the one standard deviation, it's actually saying that it's going to be in the range of this one, 25266 and then 25580. 6.8% 3 days to expire here. Okay, possible Nifty standard deviation day. 95% probability is a little longer. But I think if somebody, this is like 68%, but if somebody wants to be really safe, so this is also one more zone that they can really look at. I think that's all. This cloud makes the life easy, right? So I would probably go with one standard deviation, which is around this range, which is 25,600 and the 25,000. If not 300, at least 25,200. That is the range that I have right now anyway. But let's see tomorrow, depending on the market move, I will take a call. That's all for today. Have a great remaining day and then good night. Bye bye.